Welcome to The Critical Path, Project Management and Leadership in Complex Environments, the podcast where we explore how leadership and project management come together to deliver complex projects when failure simply isn't an option. I'm your host, Isaac Alcaide. Episode number 14, Decision Depth, the invisible backlog that kills delivery. If you've ever had a program that looked green on paper but still slipped, the issue often isn't execution, it's decision flow. In complex regulated environments, decisions get delayed for governance, assurance, or stakeholder alignment. But when choices drift without an owner, deadline, or escalation route, teams fill the gaps with assumptions. That creates hidden waiting, late rework, and painful surprises at integration and test. Exactly where change is slowest and most expensive. Today, we'll define decision depth, show how it extends the critical path, and share a simple way to manage it. Let's start with a simple definition. Decision depth is the cost of unmade or delayed decisions that the program must eventually pay with interest. It's not the same as we don't know yet. Uncertainty is normal. Decision depth is what happens when required choices don't get made on time. So the program continues by filling the gap with assumptions, workarounds, and parallel interpretations. And that's why decision depth is so dangerous. It doesn't pause delivery. It changes the route to follow. In systems delivery, the critical path isn't only the longest chain of tasks, it's the longest chain of dependencies. When they are missing, three things happen. The first one, work becomes busy waiting. Teams keep producing outputs, but those outputs are conditional. They are prototypes, placeholders, or best guesses that can't be signed off. In earned value terms, you can even end up with progress that looks legitimate. Lots of effort booked, but the value is fragile because acceptance criteria are still moving. 2. Rework shifts downstream. The longer a decision is delayed, the later it lands. And late decisions don't land gently. They hit integration, verification, compliance, safety cases, contractual acceptance. That's where change is slow, coordination is heavy, and every modification triggers retest and reapproval. 3. Alignment cost explodes. When decision isn't made, everyone quietly makes their own version. Engineering builds to one interpretation. Test writes against another. Operations plan around a third. A commercial assumes a fourth. When governance finally forces alignment, you are not choosing between options. You are reconciling realities. If I had to name the most common form of decision depth in complex programs, it's interfaces. Data contracts, timing, error behavior, security module, performance constraints, ownership boundaries. Interfaces are where systems engineering meets delivery pressure. Here's a real-world style example that shows how decisions depth turn into schedule slip. A program is delivering a new capability with two major subsystems owned by different suppliers. Let's call them supplier A and supplier B. Early design reviews flag that the interface definition need to be firmed up. But the program is under pressure to show progress, as typical, so the interface decision is left open. I often hear, we'll lock the interface after the next stakeholder workshop. Both suppliers move forward anyway. Supplier A implements an interface based on current drafts and assumptions. Supplier B assumes validation happens at the receiver and builds a different error contract. Test teams create stops and simulators that match the local assumptions. Everyone is working hard and reporting looks positive because outputs are being produced. Then comes integration. It doesn't fail like a dramatic explosion. It fails as death by 1,000 mismatches. Messages parsed but don't validate. Error responses don't match expected behaviors. Authentication works in one environment but not another. Monitoring and logs don't align, so fault finding is slow. At that point, the program pays the interest. Interface redesign workshops, contract change discussions, refactoring on both sides, rework in test harnesses, rerunning integration, regression, security, and acceptance. The kicker: this all happens late, when the plan has the least slack and the most visibility. The program didn't discover a technical problem. It discovered a decision problem that had been accumulating quietly for months. Decision depth doesn't happen because people are lazy. It happens because decisions are unclear and risk get mismanaged. Common causes: too many stakeholders, no single owner. Everyone must be consulted, so no one is accountable. Governance becomes a parking lot. Boards are for more evidence, but no one defines what enough looks like. Risk appetite is implicit. Leaders behave as if every decision is a one-way door. Wait to perfect certainty. Avoid blame. Progress metrics reward activity, not clarity. Teams get praise for output volume, not for removing uncertainty. What can be done to improve this decision depth? I'm going to propose 3 are powerful levers. 1. Decision cadence. A fixed weekly or every 2 weeks decision review, not a status meeting, a decision meeting. 1 agenda. What decisions are needed to protect the critical path? 2. Decision owner. Every decision has 1 accountable owner, not a committee. A committee's advice. Owners decide. 3. 2-way doors versus 1-way door. Treat reversible decisions as fast testable choices. Treat irreversible decisions as time-boxed choices with defined evidence. Don't apply 1-way door behavior to everything. That's the shift. Manage decisions like work, because decisions are work. They are often the work that determines schedule. Now it's time to reflect. Ask your team, what are we assuming today because nobody has decided? Then list the top 3 decisions that protect integration, test, and acceptance, not the top 3 tasks. For each decision, capture the following fields: decision, owner, due date, and escalation route. You'll often find you don't have a delivery speed problem, you have a decision flow problem. And paying down decision debt will shorten your critical path faster than adding more people. To conclude, decision debt is the silent schedule killer. Unmade decisions accumulate. Teams fill gaps with assumptions, and the program pays later through rework, usually at integration and test, when change is slow and expensive. The fix is practical, not philosophical. Set a decision cadence. Assign 1 owner per decision. Distinguish 2-way from 1-way doors, and make sure waiting is measurable and escalation is automatic. Thanks for listening to The Critical Path, Project Management and Leadership in Complex Environments. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or rate the show on Spotify and share it with colleagues who work where reliability matters most. See you on the next episode of The Critical Path.